The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast.
Hello, Scott.
Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm amazingly well today. Thank you.
Good, good. Well, welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to announce that we have the CEO of Pillow, Scott Weir, and you are a holiday property management company, and I believe you're heading towards being market leaders in the UK in property management. Is that right?
That is, Rebecca. That is a aim at Pillow, and yeah, we're not too far away from that. So,
Good.
Yeah, myself and the team are getting there.
Good, good. Well, we're here to find out how you got to where you are today, who's influenced you, and the highs and the lows, because our listeners find that kind of thing really useful as they grow their own enterprises. So tell me about the moment you decided to set up your own business. Was it Pillow, or were you in business before Pillow?
No, so I suppose Pillow's my third business.
Okay.
I definitely decided I wanted to do more and have my own business when I was at school. So I had dyslexia, so I didn't do well at school. All my teachers said, "You'll never do anything with your life." At parents' night, they'd say, "Mrs. Weir, your son will never achieve anything." So all these teachers, everybody that said, "Hey, you're not going to achieve anything," and I thought, well, yeah, I want to, and because I didn't have any formal academic qualifications, I thought, well, the only thing open to me really is entrepreneurship. But
Right.
the first thing I did was join the Navy, and so I joined the Navy at 16,
Gosh.
and I spent an amazing 5 years there. But when I decided to give my notice, you had to give a year's notice, and the captain of the warship interviews you as part of the leaving process, and obviously their job is to say, "Don't leave, stay." And I remember the captain saying, "Scott, you need to stay in the Navy, because what are you ever going to do as a civilian? Your best opportunity is the Royal Navy." And he says, and he just shook his head, and it was obviously very well to do.
Uh-huh.
And said, "What are you ever going to achieve?" And it got me thinking, and I said, what wages are you on? And again, I said, "I bet you can't be in any more. The maximum you could ever earn in the Royal Navy is £200,000.
Right.
And I remember him sitting laughing at me, crossing his arms, shaking his head, thinking, well, you'll never achieve more than what you would in the Royal Navy. And it got me thinking, and I said to him, "I'm going to leave and set up my own business, and that means I'll earn more than you." And I was a young, arrogant 20-year-old, but him telling me I could never, the best I could ever do was stick to the Royal Navy, and where obviously you can only make so much money. So that was the real thing for me that said, he's a very respected person. He's a captain in the Navy, but his opinion isn't right. He can only earn so much, a maximum of maybe a couple of 100,000 or 150, I think it was. So my thing was, well, if I go down the normal route like that, there's a wage limit. Whereas if I'm an entrepreneur and a business owner, there's no limit to what I can achieve as long as I put the effort in. So that was the time when I decided that I 100% going to set up a business.
Fantastic. So you'd had a series of people in authority telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not going to amount to anything, and your best bet is to stay under the radar, literally, and keep that security, or that illusion of security at least anyway, and to play it safe. And you decided to go, well, stuff the lot of you, I'm not going to play it safe. And so you left. And what did you have any ideas about the kind of business you wanted to set up? Had you seen anything? What were your thoughts?
Yeah. So I actually had the idea. I knew I was going to go into property management.
Okay.
In the Falkland Islands. So obviously the Royal Navy. I was in the Falklands, not the war, may I add. I'm not that old. But at that point in time, it was just coming into 1999, I believe, 1999. 2009, and it was before mobile phones and internet. So one, I'm 8,000 miles away on a warship. Two,
Yeah.
there was no internet or land. It was all landlines. And I bought my very first investment property when I was 17.
Right.
And it went disastrously wrong with a local letting agent. And that agent didn't answer my calls, and I was 8,000 miles away. And when I went home, the property was totally destroyed, the kitchen units, there was feces everywhere.
Oh, my
And the
goodness.
letting agent said to me, "That's just the risk you take, and that's not my problem." And they were really bad at their job. And it was then I vowed, I am going to set up my own letting agency and do a much better job. So it took me a few years of working for other agents, and I did a lot of hard graft to get to the point to set up my second business, but my first property business. But yeah, that was the inspiration, like many good entrepreneurs, of seeing someone doing it wrong and thinking, what, I can make that better.
Yeah. And how did you fund that first property management business?
So, having left with no qualifications, I had two goals. One, I was going to be better educated than everyone that told me I was stupid. So I had saw something on TV where there was Americans in a boardroom and they were all sitting there with their suits and their MBAs. So I was like, I'm going to get an MBA.
Okay.
Not knowing what it was.
Yeah.
But having left school with no qualifications, I had to go to college. So I did an HND. I left that and set up a carpet cleaning business because for the 2 years of the HND, I was literally working for the NHS and an old people's home. So 7 days a week cleaning. I'd leave university at 4, start cleaning at 4:30 in the evenings in hospitals. So 7 days a week, I was literally cleaning old people's feces off toilets. That was my job because I was unskilled. And I wanted to go on, and I had to fund not only the business but my management degree, because it was evenings and weekends. So I had to fund my management degree and my MBA. So I decided, why work for the NHS for the minimum wage? I set up my own cleaning company. So my first was a carpet cleaning company, and I'd literally clean carpets for 8 hours. I'd go in to do my management degree or my MBA, and all the other people would be in suits after their hard day's work.
Right.
And I would be soaking with sweat and in my overalls, having cleaned carpets for 8-9 hours. So I funded it by cleaning, and then setting up a carpet cleaning business until I could go full time in the property business and got some clients.
Wow, fantastic.
That was 2005.
Fantastic. Wow, that's amazing. So you've grown it to what it is today, which is pretty impressive. Who are your main clients these days?
Yeah, so for the first decade, since 2005 to maybe 2016, it was all residential lettings. We did an estate agency, so it was typical houses for families that rented long term. With Pillow, we evolved the business into a new market. Various reasons why we did this, but it was a good strategic move. Two main client groups now. Holiday homeowners, so people that own the kind of small studio flats right up to castles, even hotels. And the second group that we service is the guests. These are the people and the companies who are the end users of the properties we manage. So it both works hand in hand. If we don't do a good job for the guests, they don't stay with us, we lose the properties. And likewise, if we don't do a good job for the owners, we can't service some amazing guests from all over the world.
Ah, wonderful. Oh, that's a nice model. That's a very nice.
It makes it difficult we need to make sure the guest journey is amazing, and we need to make sure the owners are looked after. So we have double the market, but the happier you keep owners, the better the guests are, and the better you treat your guests, the happier the owners are. So it works well.
It does work well, which leads me beautifully on to the next question. So what does your company give your clients? Because you've got 2 clients that you serve.
Yeah.
So what do you give them or do for them that keeps them coming back?
So first of all, people mistake our company and say, "Oh, you're the same as Airbnb." Airbnb is a marketing platform. It's basically the eBay of the Amazon of the property world. So Airbnb is one site of 250 that we advertise on. So our main, if you had a property, our main thing is give us the keys and we will do absolutely everything. So we're running a business for you. We don't just market. So you give us the keys. To perform well, what we need to do firstly is get you the guests, because it's pointless giving us the property to manage and it's sitting empty all the time and not making money. So we need to find quality guests from around the world, whether that's holiday makers, whether it's contractors working on a project, or if we can, we do mix in corporate lets. So it can be bank managers, actors, sports stars, people that don't want to take a tenancy agreement or rent a house or buy a house. They just want to pay one bill. So for guests, they pay one bill, all inclusive, whether that's for 2 nights or 2 years, and they just get invoiced monthly. Or so nice and simple.
Yeah, very simple. Very simple. And I guess the owners of the property have that peace of mind, don't they?
We do, and our guarantee is we guarantee to make them more money than doing it themselves. So obviously we take a commission of all the rental income we generate, but for the simple promise is yourself, Rebecca, says, yeah, I've got a property, I'm doing it myself. Listen, I can promise you, I guarantee to make you more money, because simply the resources, you're one person with one property trying to market it, finding the sites to put it on, managing guests. We have teams to do that of people who are very, very passionate. So we're lucky enough, we're big enough now to have the resources where we can guarantee that we'll make people more money than doing it themselves, and extra income, while pretty much taking everything away from them.
Brilliant.
They don't need to do anything.
No, that's fantastic. What's the scariest moment that you've had in your business today, Scott?
I based on the stuff I alluded to at the start, I suppose I'm pretty resilient when it comes to business. I'm not totally unrisk aware. So I don't know if everything's going amazingly well. I suppose I drop my guard slightly. If things are turbulent and changing, that's when I up my game. So one of the things we need to be aware of is always legislation. If the customer demographic changes, we can work with that, because people renting properties will always want something. But one of the things I've noticed is a simple change in government legislation can wipe a business out. So we're always aware of that. We're always diversifying. A nice example is if you're aware of the Airbnb type industry, the Edinburgh City Council hate it, the Scottish government aren't fans, the whole anti-Airbnb thing. And although we are not Airbnb as such, it would affect our industry. So one thing is, I genuinely believe the serviced accommodation market in cities in the central belt of Scotland will literally disappear. 75% to 90% of all units that are on the market now won't be there in 3 years. So luckily I foresaw this coming. We moved to England, we're moving to the US and 5 European countries, so we don't need to rely on the city centre where we started, Ayrshire and Glasgow. If those markets are affected by legislation, then that will probably follow on 3 years in England, and then we'll be in areas that love tourism, that love what we do. They need tourism for the local economy, so they'll always support the holiday home industry, because that's what we are. We're not serviced apartments, we manage holiday homes. So we just go to areas where they love holiday homes and they won't ever sabotage it. But city centres and government legislation changing things, I've seen it wipe industries and people's becoming millionaires to been bankrupt overnight because of a new bit of legislation. So that's relatively scary, because that's something I can't control. Yeah,
definitely. But it's good. That's a key, I think, for any business owners who are in an industry that is not yet regulated. And if it's an industry that's doing very, very well and it's very lucrative, you can almost guarantee that they'll start regulating it.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely. Totally. So yeah, that diversification is absolutely key, and doing it well ahead of any legislation rather than making it knee-jerk is essential to keeping your business going, isn't it?
Totally, and it's why one of the reasons we set up Pillow, the landlord legislation that was coming in for buy-to-lets. They were Section 24 meant that landlords were getting taxed on income rather than profits, which is very unfair. The additional dwelling supplement, which is 3% surcharge in England to stamp duty, and land and transaction building tax in Scotland, it's 4% in Scotland. So that means anybody investing in Scotland needs to pay an extra 4% stamp duty on top of any stamp duty due. So we're looking at stuff with clients, and if they invest £1 million, for example, 9% of that will go to land and building transaction tax. Ouch. Makes it nearly 10% less profitable. Yeah. So 9% tax on buying properties in Scotland at that level. It's insane, but that's what it is, and that's only going to go up. Tax will only ever massively go up, and I know corporation tax is looking to drop to 17, but for people generating wealth and assets, those
Mm-hmm.
taxes they probably will never go down. And
No, I think you're right.
so
I think you're right, definitely. So what do you love most about running your business?
So there's two things up until now. Up until this last quarter, things I loved is you get two main big hits of dopamine or serotonin, whatever that feel good chemical is, Rebecca.
Oxytocin,
Yeah,
the hug hormone, oxytocin.
yeah. In our industry, I get two shots of that. Firstly, when we secure a client and I go out, and people getting management agents or estate just always get three, and they get three quotes. So going and getting that deal and getting people to put their trust in me, especially in the early stages where we weren't a big business and they were literally buying into my hopes and dreams, people putting their trust into me personally, now my team, gives me a massive hit. And the biggest secondary hit to that, and it's bigger than the first one, is when you actually deliver the things you've said and then you get the email or the phone call to say, wow, so glad we went with you. I can't believe how amazing the month was and your team are amazing. So historically, it's always been those two hits of getting new business and then delivering on said promises. Now I get my biggest buzz around team development. So we take on a lot of young entrepreneurs. Again, I was brought up in Ayrshire. We like to take modern apprentices on. We like to take people that might not get a job anywhere else. So we don't recruit the whole experienced chief financial officer. I like to take people from the very bottom, train them up. So my biggest hit now is taking those little people that need a chance in life and then seeing them turning into superstars. And it's amazing to see. So all of our team, we've got an amazing team. They're shining and they're just doing amazing things, and it gets to the stage. I'll give you an example. I used to get asked to speak all the time in Glasgow for anything to do with serviced accommodation, and now our property manager in Glasgow, they ask her to speak, as it me. So they go to her, and that property manager says, "Does that annoy you?" I'm like, absolutely not, because if I could get 40 of yous all over the UK, yous are all superstars in your own right. I don't need to be that person. I needed to build the business and have that public persona, but when they get asked over above and beyond me and I don't get asked, that makes me immensely proud. So long answer to a short question.
No, that's fantastic. And as a business owner, I think that's so important that you build those superstars and then you let them shine. So many business owners still put themselves first and don't let those superstars shine. I think that's so important because that also frees you up to go and develop these new markets. And expand the business while you've got the superstars running the business back home. No, that's fantastic. Okay, so what's the downside, Scott? What do you hate about running your business?
So what do I hate about running a business? Sometimes where people are involved with money, they can turn into totally different people. So sometimes the team will do amazingly, though, and a lot of our team are commission only, so they literally sit up to 10, 11, 12 at night working for their clients. So their success is linked to the success they get for their properties. And sometimes people just don't treat my team well when it comes to money, and that annoys me because that's hard for me to take, because I don't want to go overly emotional about it. But people being nasty to me or bad to me, it doesn't happen that much this day. But people get very emotional when it comes to money, and they tend to sometimes change. So I think that's the worst part, when the staff are getting treated badly, and I have a rule of, I will take any bad that happens, any escalation I will deal with personally, and people are generally okay with me and they don't do that. But sometimes where there's money involved and where people have mortgages to pay and have financial pressures and stuff happening in their lives, we totally get that. Sometimes they take it out on the team, and that disappoints me. So it's not hard, but it disappoints me.
Yeah, it is disappointing. Yeah, it is, definitely. And there's no need for rudeness, is there, Scott? You need to be polite to everybody, no matter who they are, what level they are in an organisation. It doesn't cost anything to be polite.
No, and we've worked hard on culture and core values, and one of our core values is we make lives better. So our clients, our guests, our other team members. So one of the things we have is, as a team, is any interaction anyone has with us, we want to leave them more positive and happier and better than when they first phoned, when they first came into the office, when they first stayed with us. So all the communications we do outwardly are geared towards, doesn't matter how rude that guest from overseas is or whatever that scenario is, we want to leave them happier than when they first started interacting with us. So we work hard as a business to do that, and individuals, and when you've been nothing but nice and helpful to people, different cultures, different viewpoints, and people have hardships in life that they take out on team. And yeah, it's just that's the industry we're in, and we accept that, and we do our best to work around it.
Yeah, good. Who inspires you?
So I've heard answers to this question many times, and it is always amazing gurus and people in business, and of course the people that are massively much more successful than me are inspirations. But I have a thing missing in my brain. I don't do that guru worshipping thing. I don't have there's Tony Robbins, he's amazing. I kind of have the opposite of, I don't get stuff like that. My inspiration is people disrespecting the business in the early days, saying they can't do it, is things, people like competitors doing horrible things like bad mouthing your business and telling lies to secure the business. So actually, when things are going well, as I'd said, I like that. My biggest inspiration comes from when people say no, when people don't believe in what we're doing, and it doesn't happen that much. But in the early days, even my mother said, Scott, there's no point working, because if you work, you need to pay, you don't get benefits. And my mum couldn't financially see the link to going out and making something. She said, be on benefits. You'll get a one-bedroom flat paid by the government. And she was scratching her head because we were kind of third generation unemployed from the coal mines.
Right.
And she would like, why are you always trying to do something and be better than you are? So that type of thing just is massively more inspirational than seeing amazing, successful people.
And I think many entrepreneurs have that inner drive. And so many people say to business owners and entrepreneurs, you can't do it. Your vision's too big. You're too ambitious. Just settle for what you've got. But there's something that burns inside, isn't there? You just can't help it.
And being an entrepreneur is thinking ambitiously enough, and having big dreams and goals and believing in yourself when 99% of the environment and stimulus says you can't, and actually being realistic enough to know people are giving you valid feedback that are much more experienced than you, and you're like, your business isn't going to work. And I've seen that, and people have had that drive and belief, but the business isn't going to work, and that's obvious to people that are experts and have had the experience. So the challenge of an entrepreneur is keeping that motivation up, but realizing actually when you're going off on a tangent, or what, the statistics better than me, Rebecca, was it 90%, 85% of businesses fail? Yeah, they do in the first 5 years. That's just simply because the business isn't an idea. It's a hobby business. It's never going to take off. They aren't the right people to run that business. Doesn't mean to say they're a failure. It just means that isn't the right idea. So having that motivation, and you said the burning desire there, that's really, really important. But you need to balance that with reality-based thinking. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do, definitely. So what gets you out of bed in the morning? What drives you on? Because you're pretty successful. I mean, you could just sit back and do not a lot, Scott. That's the success is all relative. I have a terminology of my role as a CEO now, and it's taken me a long time to step away from other duties and the operational front-facing side. And what gets me out of the bed in the morning is making this group and the group of businesses, the term I use, bulletproof. It needs to be future-proof, and my HQ team, who we're very close with, they look to me to allow them to pay their mortgages and build their hopes and dreams. We're going to have 40 people all over the UK that are commission only, that gave up corporate jobs to believe in my dream. So my job as a CEO is to make sure their future is secured, that Brexit, independence, global recessions, terrorist attacks, meteors, whatever happens in life, the group of companies, Pillow and its associated products is bulletproof, so that if we take the example of, let's say, the pound quarters in price because of Brexit. I don't know. I don't watch mainstream media, consume news. I know nothing about Brexit, and I don't want to. I'll find out once it's sorted. But if we stuck to one product and the pound went down 75%, it would be devastating. But it would be good because people would come from overseas. How cheap would it come to Scotland? It would be. So that balances it out. If the economy goes massively well and the pound's bad, less people come here to holiday because it's so expensive. But there's infrastructure being bought, and we get more contractor and corporate bookings, and people are investing more, and the managers are traveling more because the businesses are expanding. So my job is to slice everything up, get new products to make sure everything's bulletproof, the legislation's in place for a safe business. That's not an exciting answer in any way, but that's what I see my job as a CEO now, is to make it bulletproof.
It's a great answer. It's a fantastic, and I love that phrase, making the business bulletproof. I think it's a really good phrase. I'm going to steal that, if that's okay, and use it with other businesses.
I bet you say that with all your guests.
I don't, not all of them, no, but I will. If they're with your permission, I'll credit you for it as well.
Do it. No, you don't need to. It's fine.
And I know we had a brief chat before we started the podcast. I know that one of the things that's really important to you is giving back. Tell the listeners about how the business gives back, because that's a really hot topic on the business agenda these days, but I suspect you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, so I never saw having properties as a thing, and property management is something we could ever be a social enterprise. And we're part of various organisations and groups in the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Scotland, and some of those are doing amazing things. They're curing cancer, diabetes, they're providing fresh water, they're doing amazing things. And we were always on the periphery of that, saying, well, we're here for profit and we manage properties, we don't have anything to give back. But we've spent a 2-day trip in London, meeting lots of social enterprises, meeting lots of different businesses, and I left that trip noticing that I was actually wrong, and we have a massive opportunity to help people. So think of holiday homes. They're unlikely to have 100% occupancy. And a few years ago, we noticed we had all these empty properties, but yet there was people living in the streets over Christmas and New Year. And if in the normal lettings market, if we didn't rent a property by the 15th of December, it's probably going to sit empty to the 15th of November. Nobody moves in that period of time. So I wanted to go and give these properties to homeless people, but it turns out local authorities said you would need a house of multiple occupancy license, and the government and local authorities said, no, you cannot use these empty properties to house homeless people because there's rules, but yet you let these people live in the streets over Christmas and New Year. So I was like, well, that's and the legislation around renting a property says that you can't have 3 unrelated people in the tenancy agreements, and then that would have, so it's very, very hard to help homelessness. But we notice with holiday homes it's slightly different because the legislation is different. If these properties they don't have 100% occupancy, so what we do now with our charity side, Pillow Society, we ask all owners so say you manage a property with us, we would ask you, Rebecca, would you give us 7 days to give to charity and local community causes? So we ask owners to do that. If we tot these 7 days up, our aim is to have 14,000 nights a year that we can give to charity. Now we help homelessness, mental health, domestic violence, child poverty, and there's amazing things we can do, and we can give these. The people can. An example is we donated a weekend worth £250 to a small local charity in Ayrshire for teenage suicide prevention, and they raffled that off. Somebody could have bought it off us for £250, but they raffled it for £1,000. Now, the lady that runs that charity said, Scott, that £1,000 will save lives, because if you're a teenager with mental health issues, and her daughter unfortunately killed herself, committed suicide, but they had went to the NHS and they said, yeah, of course we'll help, but there's a 6-month waiting list, and the mum said, Well, no, because they've been bullied, they're unhappy, they're suicidal. And then, so had the system been better, it shouldn't be pillow that saves lives, it should be the government. So by giving that, and that £1,000 can go to counselling, they can, people can use it. So if something bad has happened, they can use it. If I've got 2 minutes for an amazing story as to how we started helping victims of domestic violence.
Go for it.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Last year, and I record this in Glasgow and Newton Mearns, and it was a pillow Christmas night out last year in Glasgow. I was getting the last train home, and I'm the second last stop, and there was a woman sitting next to me, and she was crying, and she was upset, and I was like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "No, didn't want to talk about it," but she opened up, and she was getting off at the last stop, and she said, "Yes, Scott, it's been my Christmas night out. I had to go because it would have looked weird if I didn't, and my boss expected it, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to get beat up."
Oh,
and
God.
my husband I already know the way he is. So I'm saying to this lady, I've got properties, and I was drunk and enthusiastic. "I've got properties. Get off the train with me. You can stay in a property. I'll give you the key box codes. Stick you in an Uber. Like, I won't be coming with you. You go. You don't need to go home." And she was so scared, and she says, "Well, it's coming up to Christmas, and if I don't go home, it'll be worse." And I started looking into it, and I realised, so I had to stand at the platform and watch that train pull away with her crying, knowing what was going to happen. And I was like, but I've got empty property. She doesn't need to go home. So I put a post on Facebook, and I just said, "Hi, listen, if anybody over Christmas and New Year knows anybody that's going to happen to them, and they can't find a support organisation, because if you say, 'Hi, I'm a victim of domestic abuse,' you'll be voluntarily homeless. The council won't help you. They'll put you in temporary accommodation, and that temporary accommodation has drug dealers, people out of jail, people probably out in jail with you. And imagine nice middle class families going to these places." So I put a post on Facebook to say, "Listen, we've got these units. It will be anonymous. Here's my mobile number. Get me anytime over Christmas and New Year. If you know anyone that's a victim of this, do it. I don't need to know their name, so it's anonymous. I'll never know who the people are." And we got two referrals. One with a family who left her abusive husband and went into our unit over, I think they were there for 5 days, and another one was a single woman that was engaged, and over New Year our fiance just started doing bad things, and she escaped it. So there was us with empty properties. So now we've opened that up. We give it to charity. We help people with mental health, and we let people raffle them off. We give it as competitions to local community heroes that might need a bit of respite for caring for neighbours and don't get money. So I could talk all day about that, so I won't, but we do use our properties for good. We give them away, and if they're empty and someone approaches to say there is a need for it, we will do it. And it's a nice thing because our owners love it. And there has been a couple of people that said, "Well, Scott, I'm not giving 7 days to charity. Who are these people going in, and I don't want to do that." And it allows me to say, "Sorry, but you don't fit into our culture. You're not the right type." Because if they people are refusing to help the people I've just told you a story about, they're going to be bad clients. So that lets us just work with people that we know where values are aligned.
It's so important, and that's an incredible story, and what a great way to help people in a real practical way, a genuinely practical way, and probably save lives across the board. And you're right, choosing your clients who appreciate and fit with your values is crucial to growth. Again, a lot of businesses in the early days are so keen just to accept all business, all clients, but it is so important that people who buy from you share your values and appreciate what it is you do. And that's a nice message to send to entrepreneurs, is it's okay to say no to business.
It is in our early years in all businesses. I would, as you do, I'll have bills to pay, I'll take any client. And it's certainly with Pillow, there was 2 things we did wrong in the early years. We took any client to get the growth because we needed it to prove and get some traction. And secondly, I spent all my time on sales and marketing and building the business, and I totally neglected culture and core values and our purpose. And we got someone in to help us with that this year, made a massive difference. So we now have our purpose, we have our 4 core values, and the whole culture of the business has changed. So we had a good bit of success. We stripped it all back, got rid of a lot of the clients, a few of the team who didn't get it, or would never get it. And we got the right team, we got the right clients, and now we have an amazing opportunity in a base, because the people that come and align our core values, staff and owners. But one bit of advice is I ignored culture and core values, and I was lucky enough to be over in Silicon Valley at the start of the year. And one of my good friends is a management consultant, does it for multi-billion-pound companies. And I said, she was wrong, I need to focus and say, I don't have time for that fluffy stuff. And she's amazingly smart, much smarter than me. And when I come back from America, the first thing I did before seeing the team was walk up to see Annabelle Beckworth from Yara Consultants and say, hi, Annabelle, I was 100% wrong and you were right, and we need to do some work on the core values and culture. So I had to go with my tail between my legs after seeing other successful businesses and basically take the business back to the start. So early days entrepreneurs want sales, they want to bring the business, they want growth and stats and spreadsheets. That is nothing without the core values and the culture of your business being there. And that was Annabelle Beckworth that taught me that.
Absolutely. No, she's right. And for any small businesses wondering about that, who don't have a friendly management consultant, who maybe can't afford consulting fees, our Culture as a Foundation for Growth course on our platform. You can do that course. It'll cost you £5 or 17 quid a month to do the course. And that's one of the first things that I do with clients when I take on a new client, is going, right, what's the culture? What have you got here? Because actually you can't make proper strategic decisions but without understanding your purpose, your vision and your values. Spot on. Okay, good, wonderful. So what's next? Where to next? Where are you taking Pillow?
So, as you mentioned at the start, we want to be the best at what we do for the property management side in the UK. And if the team have the targets for that, and we now have amazing people to help me with that, frees up my time. There's 2 main things we want to do. We want to start building our own hotel chain, holiday home chain, and really providing a really cool Scottish brand and something that's really important. So I think the business ecosystem in Scotland is amazing. We've had a lot of support, so I'm really passionate about Scotland. And the second thing is recent trips to America. We don't value ourselves as Scottish people as much as other people. So Scottish people are very self-deprecating. So my 3 trips to America, it surprised me just how in much high regard we are held as a country, as a people. Our innovation and our inventions from years gone by. So we're going to be building and bringing £70 million of inward investment to Scotland. We are going to be taking dilapidated buildings, doing them up. We're going to be making eco-villages that are all sustainable and energy self-funding, and creating amazing places for people to come, boosting Scottish tourism and providing jobs in the community. And as the Pillow Society thing, anybody that does invest in Scotland need to subscribe to our things, that these properties need to be given back to the community. So brilliant. Whether it's, the old person's tea bingo gets to be in the foyer of the new castle that's been renovated, whether it's a local community group, all these things, we want them to use our properties if they're empty. And that means that perhaps these small community things don't need to have costs, but they can do fundraising things. We can give them to charity that can raffle off. So we want to bring that investment in, but create jobs for local communities, invest in the local communities and make these areas better, and bring a lot of tourism into Scotland.
Fantastic. That is amazing. And people can find out more about you at your website, which is pillowpartners.co.uk.
Yep.
And that, that will be for people who own properties or people who want to rent your properties, which is fantastic. And even people who maybe want to work with you as well, because it sounds like a great place to work.
Yeah, and we're always looking for team all over the UK. We are going to add 32 new jobs in the next
Wow.
12 months. So anybody in Ayrshire, but we have home-based jobs with flexible working all over the UK. So
Oh.
we like to give it to people that just are little superstars that, hey, we get a chance. Our perfect demographic is probably mothers that are going to return back to work, but their bosses didn't support them because of hours, because of childcare.
Yeah.
That's kind of our perfect avatar is, professional women that might have a family, might have other commitments. They can work from home. They can. We totally support that. They can bring their children to the training, which we've done lots of times.
Great.
They can take their kids out, and the whole opportunity for them is built around a perfect work-life balance, whether that's hobbies or families. So yeah, I'd love to. Anybody can get in touch. Search me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and yeah, let me know.
Oh, that's amazing, Scott. That has been absolutely incredible and truly inspirational for so many reasons. I really admire your drive, and the fire in your belly is still there, and the passion is still there, which is wonderful. Thank you. No, thanks so much for your time, and best of luck in bringing that vision to reality.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to chat.
That's a pleasure. You take care. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.
The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen. Grab your seat. Let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial